You're the fastest. Go, now!
That was a great run. Hi, my name is Juan Becerra, and I'll be your special host for this 2 episodes of Gotta Run with Will, Running with Thrones, part 102 right now. I'm an Ironman Triathlete, part of the Wati Inc. team, triathlon team, and I'm here with...
Ruth Montilla. I am a 22-time marathon finisher. Speaking of long runs, I've been part of 4 200-mile relay teams. And I'm excited to be here to talk about the Thrones.
Hi, my name is Peter Charles. I'm a therapist. I work at Equinox Fitness Club. I'm also a fitness coach. And I work with different athletes, and everybody, the conversation we talk about is Game of Thrones. So part of my obsession and my ringtone is of Game of Thrones.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Corkum. I'm known in the running community as Coach Corky. I own Coach Corky Runs. I coach at Mile High Run Club, and I run for Queen's Distance. I love running, obviously, and I'm excited to talk about Game of Thrones with y'all.
It's a pleasure having you here. And let's talk about Gendry's run, because that's probably, a part that interests us, all of us as runners. My take on that is, I was trying to do the math of how fast the guy had to run for 2,000 miles, according to the map included in the books. If he had run at Ryan Hall's pace, he will only be able to do 245 miles a day. So that will take quite long without getting too nerdy on numbers. But personally, I've loved seeing this Philippidian run, because it ended up pretty much like that at the very end when he collapses. I really liked it. What do you think, Ruth?
It made me think of, how we hear the story about how marathon started, and there was the war, and the guy literally dropped dead when he got to the finish. And it scared me a little bit, when he got there and Davos grabbed him. I was like, oh my God, is he gonna wake up? The first thing that caught me was running. I can't run with anything that's heavy, and when Tormund told him, it's like, you're not running with that hammer. It's like, give in. So it was epic.
For me, in terms of all the episodes they have to compress, it made sense for them to show different scenes of scenery with him running, at the same time compressing it where they can get to the action part of the show. I'm looking to see action. So some of the dialogue is amazing. Well, actually, all of the dialogue is amazing, but I think seventh season, you want to see more action. You want to get the dragons involved. So for him running to the Night's Watch to get everybody, to get the dragons to come back, for me, that was more exciting part.
The fact that he ran as far as he was supposed to in snow, also, not even just
Yes.
like Ryan Hall pace, but if you ever run in snow, that's tough. I honestly kind of tuned it out for that whole run thing. I found it just was totally disillusional to me. The amount of distance and time, and how much the series has put into time as a reality and how far away everything is. And it was like they just took something they've created and established so beautifully for so long and just kind of tore that down. So while I understand that the action and everything has to really kind of, they're on a timeline now as far as filming goes, I think they really compromised a lot of what made the series up until this point really, really great to me. So while there were a lot of really great episodes in this season, a lot of great moments, it really felt like it was kind of something different than what Game of Thrones was until then. And that run especially kind of was, for me as a runner, the reality check where I was like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about another run, Rickon's run. Remember the Battle of the Bastards, Ramses? he tells him, like, just go. And Rickons know that he has a bow and an arrow pointing at him on his back. Why Rickon never ran zigzags? Why he ran in a straight line? Do you guys have a take on that? Because that was a fast sprint.
It was, but it was, I guess the child had no idea how to run, He had no clue. He was just running towards John. And so, because on that same episode, another run that got me all riled up was when the Knights of the Vale showed up, and then John and the Giant and Tormund were running towards Winterfell. I was like, how did they get there so fast? It's a little, yeah.
Yeah. So timeline was an issue, like you guys are saying, especially for this season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think with that run, being scared, and at the same time knowing that I may get an arrow in my back, I'm not sure what went into his mind. I think the first thing is like, okay, you know what? This guy is like really bastard. He's really mean. I just want to get away. So in his mind, he didn't think about doing zigzag. I see my brother there. I see my sister. The first thing I'm doing, I'm going to run straight to them. And I trust that he's not going to hit me with an arrow. At the same time, if he tries to, then the other side, John and them, will just counter that. So in his mind, he's running to freedom. He's running to be home with his family, especially being captive with the Bolton. It was not great. Zigzagging, I think, was the last thing in his mind. I see my family, it's freedom, I'm running home.
I like that point of view, Peter. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I asked a question, like, Rickon lost his father and a lot of the leadership in his life at a very, very young age. If you start looking back, like, season 1 versus his final run. And I wonder how much developmentally as a male in Winterfell he missed out on, as far as, archery and combat and all those things that would create kind of those survival instincts in just a person in that place and time that he just didn't ever develop. He kind of is, most of his story in Game of Thrones, he's just out in the snow with his crippled brother. And he didn't have like that nurturing, education perhaps. Yeah. And maybe just there wasn't that natural instinct of how to
avoid being hit with an arrow and running zigzag.
Weren't you always wishing that he would miss that arrow when he was running away from it?
Yes. Every single time, like he shot at him and he missed. I'm like, he's gonna make it. Like you saw John putting his hand out, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, but Sansa had said it. We're not gonna get him out alive. So.
Yeah.
And I think also that Bolton boy is a pretty good shot, because you have to judge the distance and the wind and how to get an arrow up. And then that's one of the things about shows like this I really love. These guys are amazing in what they do. Well, killing people, that is. But in terms of how you can shoot an arrow in the air, understanding the wind and how it's going to project and also come down at the same time, it's remarkable that, wow, because he was on target.
Yes.
So he knew exactly, well, I think he already had a distance where he's going to shoot the arrow, so by the time he's going to be running, once he gets to that point, I can get the arrow to him there.
Pretty good shot, that guy Ramsay.
Yeah.
But he was gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
In a good way. That was a good moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and actually, let's speak about that. Which was the death you guys regret the most? To me, I remember when I saw that scene when finally we learned what was life missions for Hodor. And who's holding the door, and how he dies, right? To me, I didn't notice, but somehow I developed some sort of relationship. I really liked the guy, and I didn't want him to die, especially not like that. But when I learned that was his lifelong mission since he was a kid, that was. I remember I went to bed, and I kept thinking about it. To me, that was like. Probably the death I regret the most out of the show. What about you, Ruth?
That was pretty sad. Yeah, that took me.
With Hodor, I think I knew he had a connection with Bronn when Branagh got in trouble or something was happening when they were kept captive by the guy, I forget his name, who had all the girls who he was getting pregnant. When they were in trouble, he will always go into his mind, you see his eyes change, and then hold it just change into this powerful giant who you cannot mess with because he'll just twist you like a twig. And we've seen that several times that he has come to save them when Brandon's called upon him. So I think by him getting killed at the end like that is because he took it upon his own understanding that he could not go any further. And the only way to stop them was to hold the door. Otherwise, that would be the end of them.
And Brand knew that since years ago
He knew
by
that,
time traveling.
And yeah, because I think at the same time, the mistake he made was not trusting his instinct and going out to see the Night King, who touched him, and that triggered a whole domino effect. That's actually, I think, we probably see more in the coming season.
Sort of like broke a spell there.
It was a series because he saw everything.
Yeah, the children of the forest. Like all of a sudden, they couldn't break into the cave, and all of a sudden now,
Yeah,
they did.
that was so horror to you as well.
Yes.
For me, let me see. Saving the guy fighting for Tyrion's life. Had the giant beat him and bouncing around like being silly instead of just getting down. And then have his head squashed like that was like, wow.
Oh, Martel.
Yeah, that was really intense.
Yeah.
I think for me that was like, I really liked his character. The way he was smooth and the way he got around.
That was another night I went to bed like, oh my God.
And he had already killed the Mount.
Yeah.
And what about you, Elizabeth?
For me, it has to actually be Tommen jumping out the window, because for me that was such a moment where his mother had made a choice that had killed and ruined so much of his life, and it was too much for him. And you have so many characters in Game of Thrones that are killed off, which is awful. But to actually have somebody who is so young and has the weight of the entire world literally on his shoulders, a young king, and just to end it all. To me, that was kind of a death unlike the rest of them, for good reason. And I also think in some weird way, it was escapism, but it did something different to Cersei too. I mean, there's been a switch that's kind of flipped in her. I think we all kind of saw it slowly ready to flip. But I think like with the wildfire and then Tommen committing suicide, for me, that was kind of like a big moment for the show.
Yeah.
I felt that Cersei was really cold when he died. It was like whatever, he's gone.
Yeah. Well, or maybe there's some denial too that she actually contributed to his death.
Yes, I agree.
I think that there was kind of that separation, and yeah.
I think at that point she had no choice.
She always has a choice, but she always makes a bad choice.
I agree. When she was humiliated like that, she's like, I am not going there, and I want to make sure that they pay for it, everyone. And that's the reason she set up that wife, because she wanted nothing to do with that and to continue to move on with her journey and what she had plans going forward.
Yeah.
So if her son decided to go to the window, she will have to be upset. You know what? Where's my glass of wine? Take a sip and continue to move on.
Yeah. Well, like Elizabeth said, I mean that I believe that in many different occasions she failed to recognize her own fault, her own take on certain events that end up happening around her life, right? Like Joffrey, and now that we're talking about Joffrey, let's talk about which death we shouldn't be celebrating deaths, right? But speaking specifically about the show, right? So which was the character you guys enjoyed the most when they finally died? To me, I don't know if I have just one. It's kind of hard for me to pick between King's Joffrey and Sir Peter Baelish, and probably I would put on top 3 Ramsay, but those are to me probably the characters I enjoyed the most when they finally end up dying or being killed.
Yeah.
And what about you?
I agree. Joffrey, obviously everybody hated him. But when Arya killed the one guy that killed her, her teacher.
At King's Landing, Syrio Forel teaches Arya to fight and to be strong, perceptive, agile, quick, and fearless.
The way she killed him,
King's
you know,
Landing.
like, I like that one.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think Ramsey definitely had to come in terms of what he did. I think what got me really, is when he had the girl running for her life and he sent the dogs after her. And then he shot her with the arrow and then watched the dogs eat her. I said, this guy...
He deserves...
Yeah, so everything that came after that was just part of the top of the list, because I think that first scene with him and how he treated her, the girl, that tells me it actually displayed who this person was.
Yeah, yeah.
It
yeah.
identified who this person was and what he's capable of doing.
He did a lot.
Yeah.
Killed his father. He killed his little brother and
So
stepmom.
Yeah.
but and how he did it also through the dogs, and he found that same. It's ironic because the first person, the girl he killed, she didn't die because of the arrow. She died because of the dogs. His stepmom and his brother, and he found the same fate.
Yes.
But he didn't feed them for 7 days.
I know,
Yes.
that was terrible. And what about you, Elizabeth?
You know, I'm going to go a different route with this one and say Sir Walter Frey, because I think the other ones are characters that are obviously like crazy sociopaths, know how to play the game, just terrible, terrible. It's so easy to hate them characters. But I think with the whole Red Wedding thing, what was so surprising about that was it was a character who was promised something who didn't get it, and was a secondary, you know, name that you didn't really even know about,
Yes.
who was kind of scummy, but like, you know, you're like, he had an ick factor, but he wasn't the tyrant. He wasn't the one you were cheering to have killed off, right?
Yes.
But then
True.
he's the one who is behind the whole, you know, assassination at the Red Wedding. And to me, then, when Arya kills him,
Arya infiltrate the twins disguised with the face of a serving girl. She makes a pie out of Black Walder and Lothar Frey and feeds it to their own father, Walder, who she then kills to avenge the deaths of her mother and brother at the Red Wedding.
obviously that was very, very satisfying.
They weren't easy to carve, especially Black Walder.
My name is Arya Stark. I want you to know that. The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
Other than those two big scenes, really isn't part of the big picture. But the roles he does play for the show are pretty darn epic. So I think he was one I was really glad to see gone.
Yeah. The architect of the Red Wedding. Yeah, that was a
'cause
good
the other
one.
ones, honestly, like, obviously everybody hates Joffrey and everybody hates, you know, multiple different characters, but they're so easy to hate because they're so vile. They're so terrible.
Yes.
It's unrelatable to anybody you would meet on the street. While, like, that whole Frey thing, like, was just such a trap. It
He was
so-
horrible
Yeah.
because he killed half the Starks.
Yeah.
Killed Rob and his mother and
Yeah.
Rob's wife and
Deon
And
Vaughn
she was pregnant.
Yeah,
Yes.
like, just, yeah. I thought it was, like, that was ruthless. So when Arya got
Did that.
that was
Oh.
great.
Okay.
That was great.
and
Where
I
are my
loved
sons?
The pie.
Yeah, the pie. It was like, it almost had
pie.
like a Mrs. Lovett thing going on with it, with like the meat pie. Like, it was
Yes.
great. It was great.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I think there was like 10 minutes to enjoy of that guy was getting ready to be killed, and we knew that, and we saw it coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's amazing. That was a good one. So there's a lot of blood, gore, and X-rated scenes in Game of Thrones. Do you guys think that the show is also about some other stuff, that it's not blood and gore and X-rated scenes related? For example, to me, it's about it's a lot of politics. It's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of war strategy involved, especially in the last two seasons, that some wars are starting to develop and armies are starting to move, getting ready for the final battle. To me, I really enjoy seeing how politics move, and my favorite characters for that are definitely Cersei and Tyrion. I think that those two characters, in my opinion, are the smartest in terms of strategy. But yeah, that's my take. How about you?
I agree with you. It's the politics. I think it's the Seven Kingdoms and who wants to be, who wants to earn get the Iron Throne. So the politics are insane. Yeah, so I agree.
Nice. Okay.
I think I have to bring in Mother of Dragons because with the politics in terms of maneuvering and understanding that she has to have allies. And your allies are people who are going to follow you in a way where you're going to help take care of them at the same time in terms of the slaves, in terms of the people who she has not conquered them. She helped free them and give them an option or an opportunity to be free and to work with her, not serve her.
Yes, actually.
Even though she's a queen, she's like I'm not here for you guys to serve me because we all work together for the common goal.
Yeah.
And to have, how would I say, to have the backing of people like that, and how much they trust her because she really cares about them.
Yeah, actually, that gave me goosebumps because I was remembering Melisandre's pitch when she explains Jon Snow that she's there because she wants to be there. Remember that part?
Yes.
That was pretty much what you just said, and that speech was, to me, I remember I literally rewinded because I wanted to hear it again. It was amazing.
But not only that part, also when Tyrion was sort of like narrating when the Unsullies were going into...
Casterly Rock is an impregnable fortress. But as a good friend of mine once said, give me 10 good men and I'll impregnate the bitch. And so it begins. They will face the bulk of the Lannister forces. They will be outnumbered. They will have less armor and fewer weapons. But my sister's armies fight for her out of fear. The Unsullied will be fighting for something greater. They will be fighting for freedom and the person who gave it to them. They will be fighting for you. And that is why they will triumph.
And at the very end, he said, because they're fighting for you. It's like,
yes.
Whoa.
The other theme that I find really important and part of Game of Thrones, other than the blood and gore and all that fun stuff, is classism and sexism, the role of women, for sure. In the very, very beginning, the very first episode, you have Arya wanting to shoot the arrow, and, that's not the role of a woman. And then having a character like Brienne come in, and, she is like this person who has obviously just paved her own way. We don't know exactly with the show what her background is entirely, but that she's a role model for Arya.
Who taught you how to do that?
No one.
She's a role model, and for a lot of women, but also then too, that you have what your roles and responsibilities are as a woman, or what your options are, and there are very, very few. So I think that definitely the female feminism part of Game of Thrones, or lack thereof, depending on who you are and what role you have to play. And also then too, the whole thing about being a bastard child and having no entitlement and having no claim to a name or a property, and kind of just how that classism almost it's in itself. It's not just about rich or poor. It's about, being a disgrace and being kind of this own weird thing to the side where you'd never really have a place or a name or a family to claim as your own. I think those are kind of interesting elements that in some weird way still kind of are very relatable to today.
Yeah, correct.
And I think that's kind of cool about the show, because it can seem so foreign with dragons and all these things.
Couldn't agree more. That's very interesting. So Which character you think will be the most powerful of all women in the show to date?
I mean, I think Dani's obviously the best example of a role model as a woman, but also too on the flip side, what she's conquered isn't what she actually has her objective set on, right? She has yet to actually do what it is that she wants to. So arguably, even though she's the villain that everybody loves to hate, Cersei is that badass leader who is, will do whatever she has to for power. Like, she will not risk emotions, affections on anybody to get what she wants. So in some weird way, there's something very strong about that. Also, I think in order to do that, you have to have a crazy level of crazy. So I guess hopefully Dani will be the balance, but, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, she still has a lot to prove. I think that being impulsive is Dani. I think that it's just, and Tyrion has been there in order to helping her to guide her efforts to very good, right? But what about you guys?
I think Arya, just because when she escaped King's Landing after they killed Ned, she was sort of on her own, and she's become this insane assassin.
Right? She was crazy.
Very strong.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And thank you. And Peter?
I think it's the two sisters coming together, putting their differences aside and focusing on the common goal, not only to rebuild the Stark name, but also Winterfell and what the hands have just fallen and now they're back there. And I think coming together, how they team up against Littlefinger without him knowing, because he always think he was the smart and slick one, and he fall into his own trap, to say.
Yeah.
I think both of them coming together and putting their differences aside of who had more this and who had more that, and understanding it's a common goal that we work together to move forward. I think both of them, because we already see Dani and Cersei already establishing themselves, and to see Sansa actually step up and not being that princess or that poor little girl, but actually standing on 2 feet in how she will speak about stuff. And I think that really showed a lot of people probably would jump in when she called Littlefinger out. But both sisters coming together was probably the biggest. I see them getting stronger in the show.
Yeah,
that
was a great example. Thank you very much, guys. This concludes part 1 of 2 of Running with Thrones, a special edition of Gotta Run with Will, and we'll be right back.